So on this side, we are going to do more of like a metallic-y look and less like a glitter look. So I'm going to show you another way of really getting those like metallic-y shimmery colors to be the most kind of like iridescent and intense that they can be. So I'm going to start kind of like in a similar way that we did the other side, where I'm going to go ahead and lay down just like base color. So this side is going to be more of like a burgundy and a red. And so again, I'm taking like a flatter brush to really try to like pack this on a little bit more, and then we're gonna go in and make this much more shimmery and much more intense. But whenever I am doing like a glitter or a shimmer, I always like to have something underneath it, just because I feel like again, and this is how I am with like effects makeup and a lot of things I do, if I have anything that maybe like there might be like a risk that it like might move or something, I always like to have something underneath it, just so that way no matter what angle somebody is seeing something from, like if there happens to be like a little bit less glitter in one spot, at least there's still color underneath it. So I always just kind of like to have myself covered in that respect. And again, we're just gonna kind of quickly throw this on, and I try to kind of do like the little circles and blend it as I go, but you always want to go back in, and I'll blend it once I do the highlight color, just because I think it's easier when you have two things kind of blending together. So again, I apply it and I'll go all the way to the inner corner, so even though I know I'm going to come back in with concealer, I can still go all the way in. And then I like to come around this corner, because really I think this corner, and I've said it in my other videos too, I think that a lot of people just forget like how dark this kind of corner of our eye can get, so you want to make sure you always go in and really blend that out. So again, if I really just wanted to have that one pop of color, something that vibrant on stage would definitely help. It would definitely show up, but we're going to try to make it a little bit more dramatic, so we are going to add in some shading color. So again, I'm just going to start with like darker versions of this color right into my crease, or about halfway between my eyebrow and kind of like my lashes. I think that's maybe even like a better way to think about it. And so this is just kind of like another burgundy shade. And again, if you are doing anything that's for stage, or it's just something that's going to be like photographed, or you're going to be at a distance, having things that are vibrant can be really, really important. And then just making sure whatever it is comfortable is also really important. So that's another reason I really like to use like mixing mediums like we're going to use in this one, or something that's like a little bit wetter to help apply these things. So I think sometimes like the gel glitters and things like that can get kind of uncomfortable on the skin and on your eyes after a while. And so if it's something that you really have to wear for a long time, you want to make sure that whatever it is, you're going to be able to wear it, and it's going to be comfortable enough for you to wear it, and that it won't, as much as glitter can't irritate you, is that it won't irritate you, I guess, as much as you can try for it not to, if that sentence even made sense. And then again, I can come in and just kind of do right underneath my eye. And then again, this side's a little bit darker, so it's obviously going to be a little bit more dramatic than what we have going on the other side, but really just adding that little bit of shading can really help kind of like, one, it's going to help pop your eyes out, but I think it also just kind of helps sell like whatever your character is, right? Like obviously probably this one being so like light and shimmery is going to be a very different character than this one that's like so dark and dramatic, right? So that's another reason that we wear makeup in theater, is it's just to kind of help tell the story of whoever it is that we might be playing at that time. And again, I come in and I usually really tone it down, and then I just kind of go back and forth and blend it, and I'll add more shadow if I feel like I need more, and I'll just go back and forth with it. And again, you could do this as like a cut crease, however you want to do it. I usually just kind of do like a general shadow. Sometimes I'll kind of do it like, you can kind of make it more like a little V like that too, and as long as you blend it, you can kind of get away with, I feel like, whatever shape you would like. And so if you want to have more of that like really intense shadow and not have it kind of blend away, you just really want to go at the very top of that shadow and really gently kind of move it back and forth. And then that will kind of like retain a little bit more of it than what we had before. And so at this point, I've got like my base colors down, but I want it to get really intense, right? Like I want it to be super shimmery. So I have a loose pigment that I am going to use. And so for this, I do need a palette because it's something that, if I get way too bright always, you do need some kind of a palette because I don't like to put, so my little pigment comes in a little container like this. I don't want to put my mixing medium directly in that. I like to put it off to the side a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and dispense a little bit of my pigment. And even though it is mine, I still usually won't dip right into the container. I do like to kind of put that onto something as well. So what I'm working with is Kryolan's mixing medium. So this is basically just a liquid that can turn any powder makeup into like a paint essentially. So when you use a lot of these like really iridescent colors, a lot of times they're not that intense, or they won't stay super intense without something kind of like adhering them on. So to get a really, really strong swatch of it, what I like to do is, so I'll kind of show you, so this is without any of the mixing medium, and so it's still pretty intense. It's pretty shimmery, but it's not necessarily as intense as I would like it to be. So I like to dip my brush into whatever my mixing medium is, and it's really important that you have a good balance between the mixing medium and whatever product. And this would really go, I think, for any kind of mixing medium. A lot of people make it, and then it sort of turns it into this like paste, so like essentially, and then it's gonna feel wet when you're painting it on, so you really want to be careful, and you just kind of pat it in to get the most kind of impact and dramatic effect. And so you can see that made it much more intense than what it was before. So these are pigments that, like, I often wear these on their own, but if you really, really do want that like really dramatic shine, again, if you have a brush that's just like a little bit wet, some things you can mix with water. If it's a pure pigment, sometimes that'll work okay, but it's really better if you're not mixing everything with water. I think really if it's something that's meant more for like makeup as a mixing medium, or like there's like cake eyeliner sealers, anything like that, that's really going to help you kind of keep the makeup on better than like just mixing with water. There's nothing in that that's like adhering it, so it might help you with like the wetness of it, but it's not necessarily gonna do anything for you as far as like helping it stay on. And I don't really think it also helps that much adhering it either. And so sometimes I'll even go back in, because what can happen sometimes with these when you do use something that wet is that it has a tendency to kind of like crease on the eye. So I will usually actually go back in, and then I take the pigment dry and I set it with that. So that kind of makes it even more intense too. And you can do the same kind of effect when you are working with like highlighter. See, it's so bright that now the light is blinding for everything. But you can do this with like highlighters and things like on your face too. A lot of times I use like gels or something thicker than like a really thin liquid, because sometimes the liquids I think crack when they're on like a larger part of the skin. But really anything that adds like that little bit of just like tackiness and like wetness is really going to help you kind of like intensify these kinds of pigments. And so again, I'll usually go in, and if I have anything extra, just because even if there is something extra there, you still want to make sure it's gone before you put on concealer, just so that you're not stuck with like super glittery under eyes. Some people may want that, but everybody that you do makeup on is different, so you want to make sure that whoever it is that you're working on, or whatever show that you're in, whatever the case may be, that you are doing kind of like the appropriate makeup or the requested makeup for that. And so again, you can just go in, kind of reblend everything, but you can see what a difference it makes if you really do add in those kinds of primers. Close my eyes for a second so you can see how bright they are. But yeah, so at this point we're going to start talking about eyeliner and lashes, and then you'll kind of see a more complete, more dramatic set of eye makeup looks.